My number one tip for anyone to learn the planche in no time is programming and knowing your body. Let me explain. Having a well-structured program is similar to having Google Maps or sat-nav up on your phone to direct you to your end destination. So let's say you were going to your aunt's house and it was a couple hours away. You've never driven there before. You're gonna need something to direct you there. If you did it on your own, yeah, you could probably make it there. You could follow some road signs, but it's likely you're gonna get lost. You're gonna have to make a lot more stops. You might even get discouraged, you know, if traffic's bad. You might like, I'm gonna have to do this another day. But if you had your sat-nav with Google Maps or something like that on your phone, you're gonna get there much faster. Maybe you still have to make a few detours here and there, but you're gonna get there to your aunt's house, which is the end destination. In other words, you're gonna get to that planche. So that's why having a program is so important. And as well as knowing your body goes into making your program, knowing how your body works and how it responds to certain stimulus. That's the overview of why I say this tip is so important and why I ask my clients when someone comes to me asking for help. For example, I'm stuck on the tuck planche. I can't get to advanced tuck planche. One of the first things I ask is, what did you do before? What was your program? And did it work? Depending on their answers, that all goes into whether they were able to progress. And most of the time, people are capable, people are passionate, and it just comes down to the programming and knowing their body a little bit better. So let's get into the actionable tips you guys can take and implement into your programming so you can increase how quickly you progress by making a better structured program. The first actionable tip that will go towards helping you make a better structured program is going to be program out your weeks. Let me explain. When people come to me, again, I look at their plans. If you're a channel member, I'll be able to look at your plans. When people do this, the first thing I see is most of the time, they don't have their weeks planned out. So usually in a training program, you're training anywhere between 5 to 8 weeks. That's what I see most of the time. That's generally what a strength program is built on, 5 to 8 weeks of training, then you deload. So when I see most people's programs, it's just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's it. And they have the reps and sets and everything and all the exercises, but they don't have the weeks planned out. All they need to do to really level this program up from a 3 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10, which is, you know, that's like quite a lot of progress just by making a small little change, is by adding week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, and knowing when you're going to deload. So now that you have the weeks planned out, you know what days you're training. Now you need to know how you're going to increase progressive overload. Progressive overload is something people talk about all the time on the internet, but when it comes to making programs, people don't actually implement this into the program. So when it comes time to train, they're doing the same exercises for the same reps, for the same holds. So people are stuck. They get stuck in the same place. When you do your week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, etc., also think about, okay, how am I going to increase my volume? How am I going to increase my intensity? And there's different ways of doing this. It really depends on the specific goal. Do you want more hold time? Are you working on form? Stuff like that. So it really depends, but that's what you need to think about, okay? First, you're going to level up into week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. That's the first way to level up. Second way to level up is going to be, okay, how am I going to increase progressive overload? That's the first actionable tip to increase how quickly you're going to be able to get the planche no matter what your build, height, weight, age is. The second actionable tip that I want you guys to do, and that's going to get you to the planche in no time, is going to be exercise selection and figuring out what exercises work for your body. This is where the kind of aspect of learning how your body works and how it responds to different stimuli, that's where this is going to come into play. So there's so many exercises nowadays for calisthenics and for the planche specifically that you have to choose from. You could do assisted with bands, you could just do holds without bands. You know, you could do an easier progression for longer, or you could do a harder progression for shorter. You've got to figure out what one works for your body. As I've said in another video, there are high intensity guys and there's volume freaks. So I find that there's some people, they really progress well just by doing the shorter holds, but a harder progression. But there's some other people, especially when you need to work on form a bit more, or your body just responds this way, where doing longer sets of an easier progression is going to be better for your progress. I found myself, I'm more of a volume freak. I progress really fast just working mainly with bands or easier progressions, and then I do a couple weeks of high intensity. So you still need both. You still need to do high intensity and high volume, but you need to figure out in what quantity, in what composition. And that's where your body is going to come into play. Learning and just trying things out and seeing what works for you. So there's going to be an element of individuality built into your own program because it's personalized. So you need to test things out for a couple weeks, see how your body responds, and then keep tweaking it. And to further exercise selection, you need to think about what is your goal. If your goal is the planche, you need to think about, okay, what's my weakness when it comes to the planche? And this is where it might be hard to do this on your own, is where having a coach might be useful, is because maybe you don't know where you're weak. That's where people get to the point where they're throwing everything at the wall. They have these workout plans that are like 15 exercises in one workout. That's not what you want to be doing. You want your effort to be very specific, very targeted, so you give 100% in a small area. That's focus, and that's what's going to get you to the planche much faster. The last actionable tip I want you guys to start implementing is programming in your deloads and learning when to deload for your body. This is something that advanced athletes just intuitively know. They know how long they can go before they need to stop training, and they even work their training so that sometimes they barely even need to deload until, you know, like a couple months down the line rather than a couple weeks. When you get that advanced, you can really play around the volume intensities so you're able to keep making progress steadily for a long amount of time. However, for the first couple months, you're probably not going to be able to do this. So you want to just program in your deload and stick to it and see how your body reacts. Think about a week 5 deload, week 6, week 7. It's different for everyone. And it also depends on how you're training. If you're training way more intense, you're gonna need an earlier deload than if maybe you're trying a higher volume, something that's not so intense, you know. Workouts are not so hard on the body. Maybe you're not picking up so many injuries. This is where you may need a later deload so you can accumulate that volume and get stronger that way. Really individual. Again, it can be confusing, but hopefully this is pointing you in the right direction. And if you're really struggling, remember, you can always contact me on Instagram. I believe I figured out one of the best methods for progressing with the planche. If you see me on Instagram, you see my fast progression in just a couple of months, and it doesn't work only just for me. So don't worry if you think it's just because I have good genetics or something like that. Don't worry, because my clients, just normal people that just wanted to learn the planche, very passionate people, they were able to make crazy progress as well, as you can see on screen. I believe this method is one of the best. So if you're still stuck with the planche or trying to implement the tips in my other videos, it's still not working, you're still stuck, then click the link down below. We'll be able to hop on a call, we'll diagnose your problem and work on the solution over a couple weeks to get you planching, you know, just within a few weeks. So click the link down below if you're over 18. If you're under 18, then think about becoming a channel member, because you're going to get form checks and program reviews depending on what tier you pick. So that's going to help you as well, because I'm going to be able to reconstruct your whole program and help you make it a lot better with the tips I've mentioned in this video. Thanks to my current channel members, and if you haven't already, then watch this video, because I talk to an expert calisthenics athlete and he gives me his tips on how he learns the planche and they're related to programming.